It's true. The Force, the Jedi. All of it. It's all true.
Hello there, and welcome back to Star Wars Fiction, where we discuss everything Star Wars as well as make fanfiction stories. With it being Fanfiction Friday, part 4 of our series on What If Darth Vader Survived Return of the Jedi is now here. Do us a favor real quick and hit that subscribe button with the bell notification icon so you can always be first to know when our new content drops. This also supports the channel in a huge way. As always, make sure to strap yourselves in as we prepare to jump back into our fanfiction story. If you have not seen the previous 3 parts, make sure to click the card above you to start at part 1 and to work your way back here. And now, without further delay, let's punch it. We find ourselves on the planet of Jakku inside the chambers of an Imperial known as Gallius Rex. Kneeling in front of him is the newly promoted Grand Admiral Ray Sloane. Everything is proceeding as the Emperor has foreseen, he says, sitting at his new throne. The Empire is in a power struggle, ripping itself apart, and we will see those who are truly loyal survive Operation Cinder and join us for the next part of the plan. The Grand Admiral swallows hard. There has been one problem that may ruin all of that, which is why I have traveled all the way out here to speak with you personally. The new heir to the Empire stands to his feet, clearly enraged with what he is hearing. And what might that be, Grand Admiral? Our most recent report from Admiral Versio claims that Lord Vader has survived the Battle of Endor. It means to challenge our authority. Sloane allows herself a moment of silence for Rax to take everything in before she continues. I've served with him before. He was the enforcer of our master since the rise of the Empire. He will cut down anything that gets in his way. And he has Luke Skywalker, the rebel pilot that destroyed the first Death Star, working with him. Rax lets out a sigh. It is no matter. We have the means to deal with Vader and any rebel or Imperial scum that he can gather up. He then turns and sits back on his throne. Once Operation Cinder is complete, I have a special set of orders that will assure that our rule remains unchallenged. In the meantime, you are to proceed with your fleets to the Vardo system and await further orders. The Grand Admiral then lowers her head in a bow. It will be done as you have commanded, Your Supremacy. Luke felt strange being behind the controls of a TIE fighter, but he chose the Interceptor model for its advanced maneuverability, which would be like the X-Wings he was used to flying. Soon after leaving the hangar, he noticed the same fighter that shot at the Imperial shuttle not far from him, attempting to open fire on the tractor beam that was slowing the Corvis from escaping. The ISD Dauntless had to focus the rest of its resources, including firepower and additional fighters, on taking down the Mon Calamari cruiser. Luke began using the Force to sense Iden's thoughts and to predict her movements, but she was a very skilled pilot and was able to keep barely avoiding Luke's targeting lock. He then received an incoming hail from none other than the ship he was chasing. Jedi Skywalker, this is Commander Versio. You can lock on to me all you want, but if I am captured or killed, my crew will execute your dear prisoners. Luke grimaced before responding. Then what is it you want, Commander? Those are my friends, and I will be getting them back. Iden then lined herself up and launched a well-aimed missile cluster towards the tractor beam emitter, getting a direct hit. This momentarily disabled it, allowing the Corvis to break free. I want to destroy the rebellion and avenge our Emperor. As you can see, Jedi, you cannot stop what is to come, she says, turning to catch up with the Corvus. Closing his eyes and allowing the Force to take over, Luke managed to finally get a lock on Versio's TIE fighter and fired a couple of well-aimed shots at her left wing, causing her fighter to spin out of control. Taking advantage of the disengagement, he then pulled the throttle all the way back and sped for the Corvus. He could sense the ship was preparing to jump to light speed at any second. He used a rolling maneuver and made a tight right turn, launching himself into the hangar faster than what he would have liked. This crash was worse than the one moments before, slamming the TIE Interceptor against the far wall of the small hangar. Grunting from the pain and using the Force, he still had trouble getting out, and all he could do was sense the Corvis jumping the hyperspace before blacking out. Aboard the Dauntless, Anakin began racing through the hallways, making his way up to the bridge. Although the suit weighed him down significantly, he was able to use the Force to gain some speed. Very few Imperials had ever seen Darth Vader running like this before. As he reached the bridge, he quickly approached Moff Wraith. For some reason, he could no longer sense Luke's presence nearby, which concerned him. "Status report," he demanded, breathing heavier than normal. The Moff was clearly filled with some fear, but there was also some anger in him for Vader attempting to apprehend his ship. "My lord, the rebel cruiser has taken critical damage and should be destroyed within moments. But we also..." Anakin holds up his hand, demanding silence. "You ought to cease fire immediately, Moff Wraith." "But, my lord," he protests, but Anakin steps closer to the Moff than what he was comfortable with. "I want you to continue focusing fire on apprehending the Corvis with the tractor beam. Keep the forward shields up to keep the rebels' fire at bay," he said, breathing heavier, sensing the ship was preparing to jump. He could sense Leia, but now also Luke on board. Before he can say anything else, he is interrupted by an officer whose bravery was more than any other of his superiors. "The tractor beam has been disabled momentarily. We were trying to get it back online in time." "No," Anakin growls as the Force warns him what his thoughts have already concluded. The Corvus jumped the light speed, with Anakin being unable to do anything but bask in his own failure. How could he have allowed himself to fail both of his children? Lost in his thoughts, he was again interrupted by the same officer. "My lord, the good news is the tractor beam did manage to catch a lone TIE fighter. We have identified the pilot to be Commander Versio of Inferno Squadron." Even with this news, Anakin Skywalker was prepared to tear the galaxy apart in order to rescue his children. Perhaps there was still hope after all. He then addressed the rest of the bridge. "Offer the rebels a chance to jump, unless they prefer to be destroyed." He knew their tactics well enough by now to know which choice they would make. He then continued, "Have Moff Wraith detained immediately. I am now in command of the Dauntless." He then paused for a moment. "And have the prisoner transferred to the Moff's former quarters." Without another word, Anakin Skywalker strode off from the bridge. Every officer present could only watch at what happened next, as Moff Wraith was detained and dragged away shortly after. And just as the newly redeemed Jedi predicted, the Mon Calamari chose to flee, instead of being torn apart by a now fully detached and operational Star Destroyer. We now find ourselves aboard the Corvus as it is traveling through hyperspace. Agent Hask and Agent Delmico had both seen a TIE fighter make a fast landing, but have not heard anything from Commander Versio. "Wait here while I check on the commander," Hask had instructed. As he entered the hangar, all he could see was fire and debris from a badly crashed TIE Interceptor. He then knew this was not Iden. Drawing his blaster, he positioned it at the cockpit. "This is Agent Hask to the bridge. The crashed fighter is not our commander's." As the words hit Delmico, he knew this was bad. Really bad. "Agent Hask, that is more than likely Darth Vader in that cockpit. You don't stand a chance against him alone." Even though the name Vader made him shudder a bit, Hask shook it off. "He's more than likely incapacitated from the crash. This could be our chance to take him out. We've already lost Iden. Inferno Squadron can't take another blow today. I may not outrank you, but I'm asking you to retreat while you still can." Knowing his comrade, as well as his common sense, Hask instead moved slowly towards the burning TIE fighter. But instead of seeing Darth Vader, he saw a younger man, one he quickly recognized as the rebellion traitor, Luke Skywalker. As he prepared to fire on the Jedi, his blaster flew out of his hand, and before he could react any further, a green lightsaber ignited. Okay guys, this is the conclusion to part 4 of our fanfiction story. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment below on what you thought and how you would like for part 5 to go. As always, your ideas could find their way into this story. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button along with the bell so you can support the channel and know about our latest videos like the one we just released on if Yoda could have prevented Order 66. Thank you again for watching, and may the Force be with you wherever you may be in the galaxy far, far away.
Pass on what you have learned.